Hey there, We Can't Wrestle podcast listeners. If you haven't noticed, we have switched our server to Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So go ahead, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Highly recommended by me and everybody else here at the We Can't Wrestle podcast.
The We Can't Wrestle podcast. The King listens to it. WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler. And you better listen to it too. My friend Nate and the We Can't Wrestle podcast.
You're listening to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Now it's time for our host, Nate Matson.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. The brothers Maxon are here with you. Nate Maxon, your host here, along with my brother Aaron, the OGs.
Hey.
The OGs of the We Can't Wrestle podcast here. This week's show,
You don't need nobody else.
we're going back. We're going way back. We're going back to December 13th of 1988. Chicago, Illinois, the UIC Pavilion with a not sold out crowd of 1,672 people. We're talking about I guess it's not AWA technically. It's
We're
AWA
gonna get into that.
World Class Championship Wrestling and the
CWF.
powerful women of wrestling. It's
CWF,
SuperClash III.
TWA. There's a lot of shit going on.
Yes, there is. There is a lot going on. And
how many people were there?
1,672 in AWA's territory in Chicago. That's crazy. This is the death. You're watching the death of the AWA here. This is before the champion or the team challenge thing or the weird entrance thing that they were doing.
I mean, do you want me to put my end notes in front of my front notes?
The show, essentially what these shows was to combat the WWF at the time and the NWA/WCW, the Crockett promotions. These other promotions like the AWA and World Class and it wasn't USWA. Like Aaron said, it was CWA at the time out of Memphis. Were doing joint cards to try to combat the other two powerhouse promotions in wrestling.
And supposedly, because I don't want to defame anybody's character, with this show, Vern didn't pay the talent their agreements or anything at all, and this signified the downfall of the AWA.
Yeah, he because of the. Go ahead.
I was just saying, he took care of the people that were AWA people on this show, and there's only 3 matches really that are AWA shows, and like I said, I was like, "Hey, do you want me to put my back notes in front of my front notes?" There's 3 matches that are AWA matches, and I'll let you pick them out, but Vern apparently didn't take care of the fucking people on this show.
He didn't pay Jerry Lawler.
Yeah, he didn't pay Jerry. He was the fucking champ.
How do you Jerry? I can't pay you today. I'm sorry. I'm strapped. Hogan left me 5 years ago, and I've been strapped ever since. Friggin' Gagne. But anyway, that's it. That's that's the background. That's the story on why these events took place. For those of you that are not familiar with the concept of the SuperClash, and being honest, we didn't. I remember when we were growing up seeing the Showboat things on ESPN or whatever, but we didn't get much AWA in our area. We didn't have we grew up in Ohio. We didn't have the big story, of the AWA. So the AWA, until I started in my early 20s watching old stuff that I'd never seen before, back to territories and stuff like that, I didn't know jack squat about the AWA, like as a kid.
Boring.
Yeah, it was boring and inconsequential. And that's where we came into seeing the AWA. I'm sure there are people that were, I know Wade Keller from The Torch talks about the AWA fondly because that's where he grew up. That was the territory he watched. That was, the people that grew up there, that's what they loved. That's what they grew up with. They know the stories. But what we know is this: SuperClash III. We start off with Lee Marshall.
We actually start off with technical difficulties, right?
True.
Like me, Marshall.
me, Marshall.
I misspoke. That technical difficulties right at the beginning of this. Lee Marshall tries to say we're at the UCI Pavilion or whatever. He's like, we're at the. Like, well, this is gonna start off great.
Yeah, we're starting off with a bang here. It's Lee Marshall and our old friend
Larry Nelson. He's fantastic.
Larry Nelson. I have a lot of notes about Monsieur Nelson on the. Have you ever watched any of those AWA shows that are on the network where he's just hosting in that little studio and being corny and goofy with his staff and his off-screen? Oh, you should watch it. Like skip the in-ring if you have to skip the in-ring, but just watch those shows to watch. It's like the last AWA stuff, like the last decent AWA stuff, like when the Midnight Rockers and stuff were in there. But the shows that he hosts, he's got like this crazy. It's almost like a
morning zoo.
Yeah, like Larry Marshall's Larry Marshall. Me Marshall, Larry Marshall, whatever. It's it's Larry Nelson's AWA Morning Zoo. It's actually kind of fun to watch. But anyway, those are our hosts, and they're talking, and then boom, this thing just jumps to the opening 6-man. There's no it's like part of the video broke or something, but. And your opening 6-man is the Guerreros.
Hector Chavo Mondo Guerrero versus the Rock and Roll RPMs and Cactus Jack. I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, honestly have a question. What is a Rock and Roll RPM?
Rock and Roll revolutions per minute.
Oh, so it's a fucking record.
Aha.
See, I didn't know. I was like, what the fuck is a rock and roll RPM?
Regardless, it is And
Cactus Jack shouldn't have been in this match.
Because
he should have not been in it. He was too good for it. Even then, but I really did that was really a question on my list was what is an RPM?
And the reason he was probably in the match was because this match is obviously presented to us from the Texas part of this promotion. And, with the Guerreros and Cactus was working Texas then. And this match wasn't terrible.
It wasn't terrible. And I didn't say it was terrible. I just don't understand why Cactus Jack was in it.
There's, it's not that the show shows you any context. There was no video on why we've come to this match or what the purpose is. Rock and Roll RPMs, I'm not a big fan. I hate to say it, I'm not. Even GWF. I was never a big fan of Mike Davis. Just not a fan of Mike Davis. I know there's a lot of people that dig him, but not a big fan of him. I don't even know I don't even know the story on Tommy Lane. Rock and Roll RPMs to me were another one of those back then being the Rock and Roll. It was a Rock and Roll Express knockoff, And I mean, to be perfectly honest, so were the Rockers, but the Rockers were good.
And these guys sucked.
Yeah.
And why was Mike Enos the ref?
In a lot of these matches. Was he wrestling yet? I don't even think him and Bloom were together yet when this happened.
Well, he must have been wrestling because Wayne Bloom wrestles. Later, we're going to talk about that. But, why is Mike Enos the ref? Mike Enos is bigger than everybody in the match.
True.
Why make your ref bigger than everybody?
Let me see here. I guess he started as a referee. I'm going to Wikipedia, but it says Enos started wrestling in the late 80s after being trained by Eddie Sharkey. His signing with the AWA was due to trainer Sharkey's connections. Early on, Enos worked mainly as a referee, but slowly got more and more bookings as a wrestler. So apparently he started as the referee. This isn't some kind of a wrestler refereeing thing.
Well, it's still stupid.
You're right. The referee
is bigger than everybody else in the match. The referee's supposed to be smaller so he can take a bump and fall down.
I just picture at this time watching anything AWA, I picture Vern Gagne going, "It's good shit, pal." Because Vince has essentially become Vern Gagne. But that's a whole nother topic. The Guerreros win this match. I mean, for an opening 6-man, not a bad match, and the baby faces usually go over in an opening, 6-man, trying to get the crowd off this huge crowd off their asses.
Yeah, these 800 people stand up, Jesus Christ.
But I'm never going to hate anything the Guerreros are in. I like the Guerreros.
Well, I agree, and I'm not knocking the match, and it was a good match, but I don't understand why Cactus Jack is in it. And I don't understand why fucking Mike Enos is the ref. It's bigger than everybody. Everybody.
So up next, we have Larry Nelson, who he gets to spend the entire first half of this pay-per-view perving on women because there's going to be... Oh, go ahead.
I put this. Larry Nelson interviews Nia.
Who is
otherwise known as Ivory, and then I put Nelson, surprisingly, isn't a pervert in this interview.
Well, they're talking about the fact that coming up, there's going to be a lingerie battle royal.
A Beverly Hills over the top.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Battle royal.
Presented by the powerful women of wrestling.
How?
Yeah, the funny thing about the powerful women of wrestling that I noticed, one thing that I noted is that's the name of the promotion, Powerful Women of Wrestling. But when they make their acronym, they actually switch the W, one of the W's and the O. They're just like, fuck it. Because really, their promotion should be called PWOW, but they change it for their acronym to POWW. They're just like, fuck it, we're going to do what we want to do.
You're thinking way too hard about this.
True. Now we get to a match involving actually a guy that, back in the day, I was a big fan of. Aaron and I got to see, that's one promotion we did get to see in Ohio because of its being featured on ESPN every single day. Monday through Friday, was the Global Wrestling Federation. And one of the highlights to me of GWF was Eric Embry. I like Eric Embry. I like Eric. I guess I kind of understand why he never got a run in a big promotion because he just kind of looks like a guy, but he was I think he was a really great worker.
Yeah, Chicago liked Eric Embry too. They cheered hardcore for him. What was stupid about this was the commentators said, hey, we're going to go up and see the WCCW light heavyweight championship match. And then Gary Michael Capetta was like, it's the WCWA light title match. And they just bounced back and forth with it.
Mm-hmm.
They had no idea what they were talking about. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? This fucking belt has no credibility. Because guess who was a WCCW light heavyweight champion?
Who?
Cactus Jack.
Cactus Jack. I knew where you were going. I just wanted you to be able to hit your punchline. Yes, Cactus Jack.
That fat motherfucker was the light heavyweight champion. So this belt has no credibility. So it doesn't fucking matter what you call it. And by the time the show was done, I was like, I was watching that yesterday.
But my question about the match, probably about maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes into the match, Jarrett's arm gets hurt. And what I was wondering about this match was your observation. Did it look like he got hurt for real and they went home early? Because it seemed like after that happened, and I don't know if it was just him selling well and Embry selling the fact that he was injured well or what, but it seemed like they worked the match a little differently afterward, and it seemed like it got kind of rushed.
Yeah, and they had a shitty little roll up at the end. I didn't really see the injury, but I could see why you're probably right, because the match was rushed and they didn't really do anything in it. Like, the match had nothing. Like, the match was nothing.
Yeah.
And Chicago hated Jeff Jarrett.
They sure did. And at this time, I don't blame them. I mean, I think I hated Jeff Jarrett when at this point. I mean, I'll be honest. We used reviewing these pay-per-views and these TV shows and stuff as a springboard to have other conversations. Jeff Jarrett is, I think, a debate we could have on this show about was Jeff Jarrett as good as his resume would dictate. And the reason I say that is I always found him to be a marginal wrestler. I think he was a good heel promo. When he was being a cocky heel, he was a good heel promo. I guess I kind of group him like I do with Shane Douglas a lot of the time. I wasn't a huge fan of Shane Douglas as a wrestler, liked him as a promo. Jarrett was marginal as a wrestler. Does he have the resume he has? Because in most places that he ran, the booker was either his father, or it was Vince Russo, his best buddy, or it was him. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Other than working in the WWF, everywhere he went, he had some kind of political clout to put him where he was. So that's my question, and I know I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but what do you think? Do you think his resume is a reflection of his talent, or just a reflection of how he was in the right place at the right time all the time, and had the ear of power, or was the power?
I think that Jeff Jarrett is, I shouldn't say is, because he's retired now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Jarrett was a very talented performer, and he's almost like a Forrest Gump.
Right place, right time all the time.
Yeah, right place, right time all the time, and he made the best of it. Mm-hmm. And he, like, Jeff Jarrett entertains me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, sure, he might have not been the greatest performer in the world, but when he was with Owen in the Attitude Era with Deborah, motherfucker entertained me. And And there were times when he was in, like when he wound up in WCW with Vince Russo. Fucking entertained me. I'm a Jeff Jarrett fan. I like the guy, but I'm not gonna say that he's a tremendous performer.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Like I said, I really like him on the stick. I thought that he was a good heel as far as the mic went. I think that he was to me as a worker, like in the ring, almost basic. And later in his career, that dude made the walk and brawl his bitch, you know, like he was like, that shit worked in the Attitude Era. I'm gonna do this for 10 more years.
Like Jeff Jarrett has never not entertained me.
Mm-hmm.
But I could understand where somebody would say he's not like a top 10 performer. Does that make sense?
Yeah. All right, I got us off track, but then we have an interview with Eric Embry on the outside. Apparently, this was a babyface match because he's being.
Yeah, it was a shitty, pointless promo. It sucked.
It seemed like they wanted to interview. They wanted to get an interview in with everybody that wrestled on the show. Like everybody gets an interview. Everybody gets an interview in this show.
This Eric Embry promo sucked, and it didn't show what he could do.
Up next. Now we get to Pervy. Larry Nelson, as he is interviewing the terrorist, who was apparently from the POW, that lady. But she tells Larry to get his creepy ass back in this interview. Like, you better back up off me, creep. She doesn't say that, but
yeah, but she apparently destroyed Brandy May's cutoffs, which is what started this whole POW Beverly Hills lingerie battle royal. And she has a fucking worse accent than Lana.
Yeah. She's like, I am terrorist.
Man. And then Larry Nelson is disoriented and confused. And I'm sure it's not the first or last time he felt that way.
On this night.
Or in his entire life.
So after that debacle, now we get another debacle. I know you were excited to see...
God damn it.
The Boogie Woogie Man Jimmy Valiant show up on this pay-per-view. And he lays waste to one Wayne Bloom. Kind of a waste of Wayne Bloom's talent on this show.
This match is a bigger travesty than the Ultimate Warrior versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley at WrestleMania 12.
I'm not going to disagree.
This is worse than that. Wayne Bloom deserved better.
He deserved better, but he got Boogie Woogie. I think, let me see here. Let me look at my computer here.
He's a piece of shit.
This match went 24 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. 24 seconds.
It went 23 more than it should have.
Yes. It wasn't good. I know Aaron will say nothing the Boogie Woogie Man did ever was good. But
you piece of shit.
I totally went Brutus Beefcake there. Did you notice that? I said Aaron would say the Boogie Woogie Man, nothing he did ever was good.
Yeah. And I was just about to say the only thing worse than the Boogie Woogie Man is Brutus Beefcake.
Brutus Beefcake. What could that do to a normal man?
Fucking sucks.
The less
Boogie Woogie Man is garbage.
The less said about this match, the better. The next one ain't too much better. I have never been a fan. I don't know why. I can't even I can't put my finger on why.
You skipped something.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, the interview with Bambi?
You skipped Larry Nelson interviewing Bambi and David McLane, and Larry Nelson interviews him, and then he goes, "Hey, Bambi, why do you want to win this?" And then Bambi goes to speak her mind, and he's just like, "Shut up, we're out of time."
We got to go to the ring.
And he's like, "Oh, sorry, we're out of time. Shut the fuck up."
And now we get to another title match, and like I was going to say, I cannot put my finger on it, but I have never, ever been a fan of Iceman King Parsons. He's like...
That's in my notes, man.
No
lie.
To me, Iceman King Parsons, it's like this guy just watched some videos of Junkyard Dog and Coco Beware and threw that together as a gimmick and couldn't figure it out. Never a fan. I don't hate Brick. I never hated Brickhouse Brown. Brickhouse Brown's all right, you know.
Do you want to know what I put?
No,
do you want to know what I put in my notes?
What?
I said Brickhouse Brown has a pretty good build. He looks like an athlete. Iceman King Parsons, I was never a fan, and he looks like a cheaper version of Pez Watley.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you're a cheaper version of Pez Watley, go sell water bets.
Now, do you like Pez? Not the
I love Pez Watley.
Me too. I like Pez Watley is honestly, and Aaron and I, those of you that have listened to the show know that Aaron doesn't mind Paul Jones. I despise Paul Jones.
I love me some Paul Jones.
Everybody knows I despise Paul Jones and his stupid army. But what am I going to say? The only time the Paul Jones deal was ever over with me was because of Pez Watley. I like Shaska Watley in the top hat, and he's got Jimmy Valiant's hair, and that's the only time that fucking Paul Jones Jimmy Valiant feud that goes on for 16
Barbarian was in there,
years.
Man.
I know he was, and that's fine. That doesn't mean I have to dislike Barbarian to dislike the fact that Barbarian was in Paul Jones' army, okay?
Now, I will say this about fucking King Parsons. In the middle of this fucking match, he hits a goddamn wicked fucking snap suplex on Brickhouse Brown. He hits that shit, and Brown fucking hits the mat, and he's just fucking out for a couple of seconds.
You know what?
Like when he hits that snap suplex, Brown is down. He's just like he's dead fish for like 5 fucking seconds.
My thing about Brickhouse Brown, I look at him like, and it's not the same. It's not like this exactly the same gimmick or the same cadence or anything. But I look at him like I look at Tony Atlas. He has a good look, and nothing he does in the ring is offensive. But I'm not going to be like, damn, I just want to watch some Brickhouse Brown tonight. You know, like if he's on the show, it's cool. I mean, I'm cool with him. He's all right, but I'm not going to seek out Brickhouse Brown matches.
Yeah, just don't look at him like Jim Barnett did.
Oh,
you're good. And at the end of this match, which King Parsons wins because he isn't with any illegal object out of the pinfall, and this match is fucking boring. But it's super weird because they're doing like this quiet time between the end of this match before they set up the next match. There's like a lot of crowd noise, and I'm not gonna say what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
The Chicago crowd yells some racist shit.
Yes, they do.
But the WWF or the WWE Network doesn't edit it out.
Doesn't edit it. And we're going to get to a thing later on where I know they edited it. And I don't understand why they did. I don't understand why they didn't edit what I'm going to talk about later. or they did edit what I'm going to talk about later, and why they didn't edit this now. Because you're right, they definitely should have taken some time.
Pay attention, because
I don't think they
people were saying some racist shit.
I don't think they care about the AWA shows though, because what was that last AWA show we watched for the show? Oh, God, it was a long time ago. But anyway, I remember that one. During that one, when one of the heels was coming to the ring, WWE didn't edit out. Some guy was like, "You suck my dick." He kept saying it, "Suck my dick." Like, he just kept yelling it for like the whole time the guy was like walking around the ring or whatever. It's like, wow. Those AWA crowds, buddy.
Yeah, fucking Pat Patterson needs to settle down.
All right. So
hold on. I have one more note.
Okay.
When they interviewed King Parsons after the match, he said, "Of course, Brickhouse Brown didn't beat me because he's a Rudy Poop."
Rudy Poop.
He got him a Rudy Poop. Go ahead.
I'm trying to decide on the name for this show, whether it's going to be Me Larshall or Rudy Poop. It makes me think of Tony Atlas.
I think the name of this show should be called what I said, fucking Lee Marshall, or not Lee Marshall, Larry Nelson was.
What was it? I don't remember.
Give me a second.
Coked out of his mind.
No, the name of the show should just be Disoriented and Confused.
Rudy Poop. Nincompoop.
Rudy Poop. Nincompoop.
Crazy Loon.
Larry Nelson then interviews Brandy May,
and
who no longer has her jean shorts because fucking terrorists ripped them up, and Pocahontas, she's over there.
Pocahontas. I don't know. Do you got anything about this interview? Because I just kind of sat there going, "Oh God, this is awful. It's awful."
Yeah, it was just Nelson waiting for a tuggy, and nobody gave it to him.
All right. So up next, we have a the funny thing is, listen. This is funny to me.
You sound like Larry Nelson right now.
Listen.
Listen.
I'm going to be like Larry Zbyszko. Look it. I wrote down, we get a promo here in the ring from a young DDP. And then I scratched out young because he was probably like 36 at this point.
I put in here that DDP's out and he is young here, but he's always been terrible. Like, DDP was never good. Ever. He's always been trash. And
so what is and I'm not going to agree or disagree with you, but I'm going to play devil's advocate. And let me think how to put this. All right. Like, we can talk a lot about guys getting pushes because of who they know, and et cetera, et cetera. But in an era where you had Hulk Hogan, Sting, Goldberg, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Steve Austin, The Rock, Mankind, Triple H. I mean, the Attitude Era, you talk about an era that had probably more quote-unquote top guys than any other era in wrestling. How did he get so over? You know what I mean? Like, there has to be something about DDP that connects with a crowd. For especially in an era like that, for him to get so over. Because he was over with that WCW crowd. I asked you a goddamn question.
And I'm going to tell you.
Let me tell you. I'll tell you.
A fucking dirty left sock gets found every once in a while.
I just, like I said, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you because Diamond Dallas Page.
If Diamond Dallas Page never met Randy Savage and Randy Savage wasn't tired on a Tuesday, that guy would have never fucking made it. And if I would say this, if I'm Diamond Dallas Page and Eric Bischoff's gonna call me, I'm gonna be like, look, I don't want to be a star. I'd rather fuck my wife and just fucking work at Target.
I'll just wrestle Disco Inferno every week. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't want to watch you plow my wife every day.
Every time you come over, you're like, I'm back.
And fucking her butter. DDP is trash. I hate DDP.
Okay, hold on. I gotta piss. I'll be right back. Let me write this down, actually. So
that's what Eric said when he was looking at Kimberly's mouth.
The fuck? It's like wires under your desk or something. Like you have them all separated and then you come back like 20 minutes later and they're all wrapped up again. Like, what the fuck is going on? Do these things mate?
So Mark Starr for edit.
Fuck was that noise? What is
I said, sound like a vacuum cleaner.
Somebody mowing their lawn? No one is going on.
Mowing your yard?
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is that noise?
Here's something, and I'm not there. I feel stoned, and I'm not.
I don't know what it is. It was a room, room.
I heard it. So like, room.
30.
I thought you were about to be abducted.
Okay. That's just going to have to be in the background. So now that we've had this discussion about DDP,
he is cuckolded by Eric Bischoff.
He is out here cutting a promo as he is a manager in the AWA at this point for one of, actually, low-key, one of my favorite tag teams.
Oh, they're a great tag team, but let me tell you how big of a fucking idiot DDP is.
Very well.
He says, I'm managing the bad company, BADD company. Okay? And he puts two D's at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what Kimberly did when she got cuckolded with Kevin Nash and Eric Bischoff. And then DDP shows his shirt, but guess what? It only has one D. Because he's a fucking moron.
So he spelled his own team's name wrong.
On his bedazzled, stupid shirt.
D.D. Page.
But Bad Company, Paul Diamond and Pat Tanaka are a fantastic fucking team.
They are. They're one of the reasons during this. They're one of the things during this era of the AWA that you want to watch. They actually did some really cool shit in Memphis too. If you ever are inclined to watch that, with Paul Diamond with his amazingly poofy mullet when he was in Memphis.
Yes, and Pat Tanaka entertaining his millions and millions of fans. And all the WrestleManias he performed at.
Folks, if you have not, you have to look up the interview with Pat Tanaka. I forget what. It's not the Sun. It's one of those Canadian websites. We'll have to find it for you. But anyway, yeah, Pat Tanaka totally makes up largely, if you want to call him fish
everything about his life,
about his career, which is it's comical because it's silly, but I like Pat Tanaka. So anyway, also them as Orient Express in the WWF. You know, like Rockers and Orient Express from the Royal Rumble 91 is one of my favorite tag team matches ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
And if you don't know, Paul Diamond was also Max Moon.
Yes, he was.
He has the silliest Raw entrance ever.
Yeah, the little entrance area. He has to walk down and do his little it is goofy.
Say, okay, that's happening.
That's the first Raw. I think that's also that whole Raw. I call it like a lot of we're again off topic, whatever. It's our show. Fuck it. That Raw, a lot of the production, like I call that for those first couple of shows, Monday Night Rawkward, because there's like Undertaker, you know, like Undertaker. They were so used to Undertaker. His entrance, they had a long aisle most of the time, so his entrance could be long and drawn out. That first Raw, it's either the first or second Raw, I don't remember off the top of my head, but that first match he has on Raw, it's like boom, and he's already on the steps. Like
he's like, "Hey guys, how's it going?"
It's so awkward, but it's fun to watch those early Raws, to watch them get their footing and everything.
And in this match,
it's Bad Company and Medusa against the Top Guns and Wendy Richter. And the Top Guns
Rice
are
and Derek Dukes.
Yes. Derek Dukes, I knew of him. I have no idea who Ricky Rice is or what his story is.
I don't know either, but there's a point in the match where Lee Marshall says that Ricky Rice is plowing Paul Diamond. Like, oh no. He said, "Hey, Ray Stevens, look, Ricky Rice is plowing Paul Diamond."
And Ray Stevens was like, "Look, I teamed with Pat Patterson, and
I've seen some plowing."
This match wasn't terrible.
It wasn't. And Dukes is the black guy, by the way.
Yeah.
And I was just, you said you didn't know which one Ricky Rice was.
Oh no! I said I know of Derek Dukes. I have no idea who Ricky Rice is.
Oh, he's the white guy.
Like Derek Dukes, like I don't know a lot about him, but I know I've seen the stuff with his overtly racist angle with De Beers, and then I remember reading about him in the magazines and stuff back in the day. But this Ricky Rice guy, I didn't even know he existed until I watched this show.
Well, at the end of this match, Dukes tries to hit a drop kick that's supposed to be the high spot of the match. He completely misses it.
Yeah.
Fucks it all up. It's terrible. And the Top Guns and Richter win it because Pat Tanaka kicks Medusa by mistake. And I don't want to sound like an asshole or whatever when I say this, but do you know what I noticed about Medusa?
What's that?
She, and I don't even think I sound like an asshole when I say this, she's like Elizabeth. She's like Miss Elizabeth. Medusa got better looking as she got older.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's not terrible looking during this, but like when she got to like WCW 92, she looked completely different.
Yeah,
she was like, man, she was hot in like WCW 92.
Mm-hmm. When she was with Paulie and Rick Rude.
Yeah.
Or in her little gypsy outfit with Sting.
Yeah.
Why do these things stick out of my mind? Because I was a young teenage boy at the time. Well, because I was a young teenage boy at the time, ladies and gentlemen.
Because he was jerking off down in the basement by the dryer.
Not. Okay. Again, not a terrible match. After the match, there's a fallout with Medusa and Bad Company and DDP.
And she calls Lee Marshall a scumbag.
Scumbag.
Like Lee Marshall's like, hey, Medusa, I need to ask you a question. She's like, back off, scumbag. She like pie faces him. It's funny to me.
She gives Pat Tanaka the old slap.
Yeah, and DDP even sucked eggs in 98 or 88. He fucking sucked even then.
Now it's one of the highlights of the show for me. Because I love me a good unintelligible Kerry Von Erich promo.
Yeah, he says...
Gosh, there's only one Eiffel Tower. There's only one Leaning Tower of pizza. He said pizza.
Well, he said that later. In this interview, Larry Nelson interviews him, and he goes, Jerry Lawler's the world champion. I'm a world champion. There's only one world. There's only one. There's only one Eiffel Tower, and there's only one Mona Lisa.
Mona Lisa. And there's only one Leaning Tower of pizza.
So later, he goes, there's only one world. There's only one Eiffel Tower. There's only one Mona Lisa. That's what he says in that promo. Nope, dude. And then we get to the highlight of what I know you wanted to see. It's Ronnie Garvin versus Greg Gagne.
Like, okay.
For the international TV title.
The international TV title. This one's not even recognized by a goddamn promotion. And, not to mention, it's a disputed championship.
This fucking match sucked. I have
terrible.
Nothing good to say about it.
It's a disputed title that Gagne, I guess, wins on a fucking count out. So in other words, it's still disputed. This is garbage.
All I can say about this is, Nate, you and I have differing opinions of Ronnie Garvin.
Mm-hmm.
I like Ronnie Garvin. You don't. That's fine. I do not like Greg Gagne. He's your favorite wrestler.
The fuck he is.
Like Greg. I know he's not. Greg Gagne, like, if you watch this match, I know you hate Ronnie Garvin. That's fine. Ronnie Garvin's a badass. Okay.
Can I tell you something?
Disagree with me the fact that fucking Ronnie Garvin is bad.
No, I have a confession to make on this show right now. I have, and again, this is a coming of age thing, folks. As we people like Aaron and I, or those of you that are like deep cut wrestling and stuff like we are, that you consume everything you can because the modern product fucking sucks. So we've all watched. Although we do it over and over and over again, we've all watched Mid-Atlantic, we've all watched WCW, we've all watched the old WWF.
Do you like Smoky Mountain, Ronnie Garvin?
No. You go on a YouTube wormhole, okay, or something like that one night. You're just trying to see, okay, I want to know about, a person, a Pampiro Furpo, or like Aaron and I were talking about earlier. I went back last week and was watching as much old Ron Wright as I could possibly see because I want to see what this guy's story is. I actually now officially can't say that Ronnie Garvin is my least favorite wrestler. And it's because
you watched this Greg Gagne match?
No. No, God no. I still contend that any Ronnie Garvin that I saw when I was younger up until I got older, to me, was terrible. I didn't like the trucker hat Ronnie Garvin in WCW or NWA or whatever. I didn't like Ronnie Garvin in the WWF. I like Ronnie Garvin here. It can all fuck off. To me, it was boring and it was garbage. But I've gone back. I've gotten to see some of this Ronnie Garvin stuff from like ICW, his stuff with Savage, and looking into it, or seeing some of his stuff from Georgia, or seeing some of his.
Awesome.
And I'm not going to say that I'm completely, the leaf is turned and I think he's the greatest wrestler ever, but there was something there. There was something there that until now I have not acknowledged. So Ronnie Garvin's no longer my least favorite wrestler. This match, fuck it. This is terrible.
Well, it's because fucking Cream Puff Gagne's in it. Like, Ron Garvin
I still contest trucker hat Ronnie Garvin sucks. But anyway.
He's cool.
With that shitty NWA title win and
he was cool.
Starrcade 87 and
he was cool, and he slapped the shit out of Flair. It was good stuff. But anyway, if you watch this, fucking Ronnie is just like beating the fuck out of Greg Gagne, and then Greg Gagne is just like, "I'm Greg Gagne."
He hits it with the politics slap.
Yeah, fucking Greg Gagne. I put this. This match is Ronnie Garvin versus Greg the Cream Puff. Because I didn't want to put something that wrecked. Like, I wrote something and I was like, I got to scratch that out because I can't save this on the podcast. Greg Gagne is terrible. Fucking terrible. And as I watched this match, I was like, I don't want to have this bias towards Greg Gagne. So I went back and watched some more matches of him. He's a cream puff. He's terrible.
Well, not to mention like
Eric Watts is better than fucking Greg Gagne.
No, I'll agree with you on that. And for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I hear people on podcasts and other things, and I read articles and stuff about how the High Flyers was a really good tag team. I don't even think the High Flyers was a really good tag team. I've never seen anything Greg Gagne was in that I liked. Ever. Other than inducting his dad into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's what I said. The only thing Greg Gagne ever did good was put his dad in the fucking Hall of Fame. Greg Gagney's a piece of shit.
Well, I don't know him as a person, but
I know him as a talent, and he's a piece of shit.
Well, Aaron, we are going to take a intermission. We're going to end on that, take an intermission. We'll take our break in the middle of the show here, and when we return, we will finish reviewing SuperClash III here on the latest edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. We will be right back after this. All right, wrestling fans, and welcome back to the latest edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast, the SuperClash 88, SuperClash 3 edition of the show. Of course, we have, as we always do after our break, is the Shameless Plugs edition, or the Shameless Plugs segment of the show, and I just want to take this time to shamelessly plug, if you are not a current member of our Facebook group, what are you waiting for? Get in there right now. Aaron actually has another tournament going on, this time based on classic United States champions. I mean, you could even pick Bobby Lashley, right? He's the current United States champion. Any current or former U.S. champion can get in the tournament, and the way these tournaments work that Aaron does on our Facebook group is pair them up, 1-on-1. Well, the last one was tag team, so 2-on-2. Anyway, he pairs them up. The members of the group take a poll, and then the winner of the entire thing, when we get to the end, gets a prize pack. Shit. Free shit. You don't even have to pay a dime. Yeah. Nothing.
And you pick a U.S. champion. Like, say, I'm not going to pick a champion because I'm running the goddamn tournament, but say I'll be like, oh, U.S. champion,
I picked Vader.
Yeah, Nate picked Vader. Archie's not on here, but Archie picked Rick Rude. Say, I'd be like, oh, U.S. champion, Ricky Steamboat. Just pick that motherfucker. And then if he's the one that wins out of the votes, you get a bunch of free shit.
Yeah.
You get you get a collection of random cards, WWF cards or WWE cards. You get a Match of the Universe ring. You get Hacksaw Jim Duggan Retro Fest figure that Nate's putting out there. You get a bunch of shit. A little John Cena figure. If you don't do it and you lose, don't bitch at me because you didn't get nothing.
And guys, check this out. The last tournament Aaron did, if an admin or a host of the show wins, guess what? We're not going to keep the prize. Just like Archie and Aaron did with the last one, you might get a bigger prize. You know, the initial prize offered was X, and then Archie won the tournament, so he offered Aaron's X plus his Y and Z for you to be able to win even more stuff, put everybody in a randomizer, and we got a winner. So, and Bobby Anders, congratulations on winning that.
Archie put his D in your B.
Also, just one last shameless plug for this week. We'll only do two. The 2300 pod. We are chronicling, along with ECW's Chad Austin, the history of ECW. Chronologically, we're watching every show every week, and it has been a really cool experience so far, and it's only going to get cooler. And listenership continues to go up. I do post that in the We Can't Wrestle podcast group, but you can also check it out on the 2300 pod group, or anywhere, of course, that you listen to your favorite podcast, whether it be Podcast Addict, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, no matter what, just like this show. That show is really good. And you get a deep dive, of course, at this point with someone that was actually in the company, that actually worked there, that knows a lot of the guys that you're seeing, a lot of the guys that you're watching along with us. So check out the 2300 pod, reliving ECW, wherever your favorite podcasts are available.
Yes. And the 23 is the 2300. I just want to say this real quick. The 2300 is my baby.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool that Nate and Chad are on there, and it's like, I didn't even expect when I thought about it. I don't want to pat myself on the back. I don't want to sound like a fucking pat myself on the back guy. Sorry.
Go ahead,
But,
Horowitz.
but the 2300 was, well, when we started the We Can't podcast, I told Nate, like, right at the start of it, I was like, man, we should do a week-to-week
podcast.
A territory podcast. And I was like, man, we got to do ECW. It's perfect. And Nate was like, oh, I don't know. And when we finally did it, and then Chad was right there with us, it was like Chad was like a happy accident into it. And it's a fun show. And if you guys want to laugh your asses off and just have a good time, listen to the 2300.
Absolutely. Because we're going to start getting into, at this point, like right now, like Aaron said, laughing our asses off because the beginning of a promotion is at times a work in progress, growing pains, et cetera, et cetera. So we're kind of having fun with it now, but as time goes on, it's going to start getting serious. And that's not that there won't be things we laugh about, but you're going to start getting serious. You're going to start getting into the ECW that we know as ECW. And it's really interesting to get there. And we encourage everybody to listen along with us. And if you're just going to listen to it for the first time, we're only, as of this week, 11 episodes in. So it's not going to take too long to catch up, to listen from the beginning.
Yeah.
So
it's still a midget running, so it's still funny.
Give it a chance. Speaking of giving it a chance, Aaron and I gave SuperClash III a chance this week to review on the show. We've already had some stuff going on, and I actually want to get the last note I had, as crazy as it is, about this Greg Gagne, Ronnie Garvin thing is, this is when I looked up at this show. I thought I'd been watching it for a couple of hours because there's already been like 8 matches. We're not even an hour into this thing.
You're like an hour. You're like an hour and 50 into it.
So, no.
Okay.
No. Gagne and Garvin ended at like sometime in the 50-minute mark. Between 50 and an hour.
Okay.
And now we go into something that, quite frankly, I didn't take a lot of notes on. This women's battle royal, I just wrote terrible.
It's the I wrote match 7, the over the top ass and titties international, and the only one that didn't get naked ish was the terrorist, and I kind of wanted to see her naked because the terrorist was hot.
She's the bomb. Oh.
Yeah. Like, when I saw her, I wanted to explode. The terrorist was kind of hot. And I missed this on my notes when we were talking. When Bad Company was out during that match, the terrorist was with DDP. Like, why? They didn't explain that. But anyway, I kind of wanted to see that broad with her titties out, but it didn't happen.
Anyway, that happened, and the terrorist won. Now, I want to say, you know who popped me next in this next segment? Peggy Lee Leather. She actually made me laugh in this segment. She was like a good, like, shitty heel chick.
Do you know what I want? Are you talking about the Larry Nelson interview?
Yeah.
Do you want
with her and Luna.
Do you want to know what my note said?
What's that?
It said, up next, Larry Nelson interviews Ricky and Robert, the Rock and Roll Express. Oops. I mean, Peggy Lee Leather and Luna Vachon.
Well,
They had brunette and blonde mullets, and they looked like men.
They were talking about the Battle Royal.
Peggy Lee Leather did a good job.
She did. It's a good Christmas. That was funny. It was a funny line.
I wanted to win this Battle Royal so I could get Christmas presents for my kids, and this bitch came out here and fucked it all up.
It's going to be a good Christmas. Yeah. It was fun. Now, as what happens in the 80s and 90s at every non-WWF pay-per-view, Bill Apter shows up.
I really liked this, and you know why I liked it? And they ruin it later. But I like the fact that Jerry the King Lawler won the Inspirational Wrestler of the Year from PWI and didn't come out and accept it.
Yeah. Like if he's not a heel, buddy, he is now.
Yeah. They were like Bill Apter's like, is he gonna come out and like fucking Lee Marshall's like, hey, Jerry Lawler, come get your award, and he's just like, well, I guess he's not showing up.
I guess Jerry's not coming out here.
Yeah.
But yes, we got Bill Apter to announce Jerry Lawler as the Inspirational Wrestler of the Year for Pro Wrestling Illustrated. And like Aaron said, Lawler no-shows his own award. He's no Sting, I tell you.
Which is fantastic.
Up next is a boot camp match. And that's all I got to say about that. It's Sergeant Slaughter and Colonel De Beers.
Well, this is where I ask you a question. Which, by the way, Colonel De Beers this is the second time. This is like 2 times in a week, or 2 times
in 2 weeks.
2 weeks in a row that we got to talk about this piece of shit, Colonel De Beers. And now he's managed by DDP, so it's fucking even worse. DDP with Colonel De Beers, Jesus Christ. But this is the question that I wrote down. And I'm going to ask you this. It's a real question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not being funny. Sergeant Slaughter doesn't take the G.I. Joe deal and tells the McMahons, all right, I'm not going to take the G.I. Joe deal. I'm going to do my deal with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Does Hulkamania still happen?
Yes. Yes, and here's why.
Here's why.
Yes. And here's why I say that. A couple of reasons. Hulkamania and Hogan's push started before Slaughter left. Hogan and Slaughter were there simultaneously.
They were equally
positioned, yes. Now, yes, I do believe Hulkamania still happens because, and hear me out, you look at the level of talent that Vince brought in during that 83, 84, 85 expansion. Junkyard Dog, name a name, you know what I mean? All these people coming in, Hogan was still the man. Now, Slaughter, I think, could have been a better 1A than almost anybody but Andre. But I do think Hogan remains the top guy. I do think Hulkamania still is big. But I almost think that you get a Slaughter heel turn quicker than you got it.
Okay. Well, see, now you brought the 1A, 1B thing up or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask this now. This just popped into my head. And they're completely different people. Completely different.
Right.
Hulkamania happens because Slaughter sticks around. Do we get Randy Savage?
I still say yes.
Face Randy Savage. Do we get face Randy Savage?
Maybe
Is
not.
Is it like?
I think
Hulk
Savage
Hogan?
still comes in.
I get he comes in, but is it like Hulk Hogan shaking hands with Randy Savage, or is it Hulk Hogan shaking hands with Sergeant Slaughter?
I still say Savage, and here's where I defend that. I guess I counter to you with a question: who has more charisma? What's oozing charisma? Slaughter or Savage?
Charisma, man.
He did. But to me, Slaughter is, and this is not at all knocking on Slaughter, not at all, because he did have charisma, and he had the Patriot gimmick, and et cetera, et cetera. But Savage, man, Savage is a different kind of charisma. Savage is that unpredictable, crazy fuck. I don't know that you ever deny that. I don't know that. I think Hogan and Savage are still where they are, but then I take other guys, and Slaughter could knock them down a peg.
See what when you brought up the A1 AB thing or whatever, that's why it just popped in my head. I don't think. How do I say it? I don't think Randy. If we're totally getting off the rails, but anyway, I think if Slaughter wouldn't have left, you might have still had Hulkamania, and until you brought like the A1, A2 thing up, I don't think Savage turns face. I really don't, and I think it would have been Hogan Slaughter,
and maybe, and that's the fun thing about the speculation. But I really do think at the end of the day, regardless of heel face, I think that with Hogan and Savage, ultimately, I think the pecking order remains the same. But like I said, I think that if, as an example,
I'm not saying the pecking order changes. I just don't think Randy would have turned face. I think it would have been Hogan Savage, or not Hogan Savage. I think it would have been Hogan Slaughter.
I mean, another thing you take into consideration, though, is what would, at that time, in 84, 85, and then going into the late 80s, what kind of do Hogan and Slaughter, and I don't believe as they had the program they had, they don't have the charisma together that Hogan and Savage did. And I'm not saying Hogan and Slaughter was bad, but would you rather watch Hogan and Savage or Hogan and Slaughter?
Well, I know what you're saying in hindsight or whatever, or what you see, but I'm saying Sergeant Slaughter doesn't take the G.I. Joe deal and just tells McMahon, I'll roll over and take it. I think the mega powers would have been Sergeant Slaughter and Hulk Hogan.
Possibly. And
Savage would have not been the face they went to for it.
I think that...
And that's not knocking Savage, because Randy Savage is my favorite wrestler of all time.
You're just saying that Savage may not have got that face run, he just would have remained a heel.
Yeah, he would have been a heel, and he would have been...
Because there's no way Vince doesn't sign that guy. There's no way Vince doesn't look at that guy and go.
But it would have been like WrestleMania 5 would have been like the Mega Powers explode. It's Hogan and Sarge.
Slaughter.
Yeah.
Maybe. Or maybe you even get to that. Like I said, maybe you even get to that because, to be honest, the whole reason they went with the whole reason Vince worked so hard to convince Andre to turn, and to do that match with Hogan at WrestleMania 3 was because, much like most other wrestling booms, the boom started, and then the crazy thing about that Mania, the Rock and Wrestling Connection, et cetera, if Andre wouldn't have agreed to do that match with Hogan at WrestleMania 3, that shit could have been a bust 2 years in. Yeah. Because they were literally like 2 years in, they were like, fuck, we have nobody for Hogan. You know what I mean? Like, this is kind of sort of falling apart already. And Hogan and Andre really solidified it. So I guess what I'm saying is, I'm not saying you're wrong about Hogan Slaughter having a union and then splitting, but does that happen earlier? Does that happen at WrestleMania 3?
I get that, but I'm just saying, like, what I'm saying is the fucking world could be a lot different.
Yeah.
If Sergeant Slaughter would have just said, fuck off, yeah, Joe. Everything would have been different.
So I guess that means...
And you can't tell it from this fucking match.
The good thing, I was about to say, the good thing about this conversation being long is that we don't have to put a lot of emphasis on this match. Slaughter beats De Beers with a Cobra Clutch.
Match is garbage.
It is.
He tries to do a Patterson Alley fight with it, and it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Bad. And then Sheik Adnan Al-Casey comes out, and fucking
the
Iron Sheik comes out. It's fucking bad.
And then the Guerreros come out to make the save for Slaughter. We get a Slaughter promo. There's not a lot to say here. Now, finally, Jerry Lawler's willing to comment on his Inspirational Wrestler of the Year award.
They shouldn't have had him take it.
He's just worried about, the check's going to bounce, but...
Yeah, this is bad.
Not that Lawler's promo's bad. I'm going to talk later on in the show about Lawler's promos, but I don't want to get to that yet. Next up, we have a tag match. It's the Samoan SWAT team. Of course, Samu and Fatu, who are always good, with Buddy Roberts.
I'm going to ask you this. Oh, go ahead and say.
Well, I was going to say, against Michael Hayes and Steve Do It To It. Believe me, they tell you a million times during this match, it is Steve Do It To It Cox.
Yeah. Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
And
who the fuck is Steve Do It To It Cox?
No. Quick question. And they're the same two people, but it's completely different teams.
Mm-hmm.
Do you prefer the SST or the Head Shrinkers? Same two guys, but completely different team. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. If I'm looking at the matches overall, although there are some very, very standout head shrinkers matches in the WWF, like the high energy match, the Steiner's match, the match with Michaels and Diesel, the match with Bam Bam and IRS. I really would go with SST overall, just because
I would too, because they were like a cool, like, shitty heel team. Like,
yes, and yeah, well, that
they have their sparkly glasses, and they're just like, fuck off.
Yeah, and like I said earlier about Tanaka and Diamond, it's kind of lost to time. That's why I use the word low key, because their runs in these promotions like World Class and the NWA and blah blah blah, as people reflect back on time, it doesn't seem like it gets brought up enough. They are low key one of the better tag teams of this era.
Yeah.
This match isn't even that bad.
Oh, this match is really good. But Steve Do It To You Cox is inappropriate.
I've watched a lot of World Class, and I said when Aaron said, I have a question for you, and I said, who the fuck is Steve Cox? I was joking. He was fairly, it's funny because Steve Cox, like watching
his nickname is inappropriate.
It is.
Steve, do it to you.
To it, not it.
Either way, put it away, Steve.
He was over in one city. That's Steve Cox's story. He was over in Dallas. That's it. So
I thought you were. You sure he wasn't over in Butte, Montana?
In what?
In Montana, Butte, Montana. Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Oh. So, you threw me off. Buddy Roberts in this match is emo before emo's emo. He's goth before goth is goth because he's got a chain wallet.
But Buddy Jack also has a kick-ass Jägermeister shirt on. That's a cool shirt that he had. Like, I'd pay money for that shirt he had.
That's for true.
That's for true.
But the SST wins this match after Buddy Roberts hits, I believe is it Hayes or Cox? I don't remember.
He beats Cox.
Hayes. He hits Hayes with his wallet chain, and the SST.
I just don't want to say he beats Cox.
Okay, I have this right here. This is what I was talking about earlier. You said WWE did not edit the racial slurs earlier during the Iceman King Parsons match. However, I don't know if you noticed or not, but now Larry Nelson does an interview with the Sheiks, the Iron Sheik and Sheik Adnan Al-Qasi, and they are talking about attacking Slaughter earlier. Iron Sheik starts to go into something about Allah and Muhammad, and WWE Network cuts that fucking shit off and goes to the next segment. Like, WWE Network was like, ugh, we don't want to get, this might sound like radical terrorism or whatever, but like,
well, they gotta make that Saudi money.
I see what you did there. Maybe we just put the pieces together. But yeah, Sheik starts to go into some shit about, they're doing it because for Allah and Maha. It's like Maha. And then they go to the next segment. So I think WWE.
Did I just say something intelligent?
What?
Did I just say something intelligent and proper?
Assalamu alaikum. I think you did.
I was just making a joke with the Saudi money, but apparently I'm right.
So now we move on to
my favorite thing on the entire show.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We got Manny Fernandez and Wahoo McDaniel about to come up in, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I just, but first, before the match starts, they introduce Tatsumi Fujinami. What do they call him on the show? I don't remember. They don't call him Tatsumi. They call him something else, the Great Fujinami or some shit.
Yeah.
The Japanese champion. He's actually the IWGP champion, I believe, at the time. And Manny Fernandez. Now I want to tell you something, and I want you to tell me if you think I'm wrong. Because when Manny first starts cutting this promo on Fujinami on the screen, he's not on the screen. Okay. And do you know what I thought the minute, like when I heard him talking, but I didn't see him? It's the first time it's ever clicked for me in my 42 years of life. Manny Fernandez, although not necessarily his gimmick was not in any way was his gimmick patterned after him. Scott Steiner patterned his heel promos after Manny Fernandez. His cadence, the way he speaks, where he pauses. I know that it's more, people like to look at it more like a Billy Graham thing or something because of the look and the posing. But I want you to listen to a Manny Fernandez promo. Everybody do me a favor. Listen to a Manny Fernandez promo without looking at Manny Fernandez. Scott Steiner was a Manny Fernandez fan and patterned his Big Papa Pump promos after a Manny promo.
Well, I'd have to go back and watch it. But if he did, good for him, because Manny Fernandez is fucking awesome. Like,
So
one of my favorite undercover awesome teams is Manny Fernandez and Rick Rude. Fucking awesome.
And I know you dig them more than I do, and it's not, for me, it's not even a knock on the guys. To me, they were a team. I hate to say this, I really do, but I am not a fan of like 1989 Rick Rude.
I am.
I know. 89 on board. But I'm just not a big fan of 89 before, prior to 89 Rick Rude. But I know what you're saying. I mean, for what they were doing at the time,
they were fucking awesome.
They were all right. But they also got, they had that big fucking Paul Jones anchor tied to their ankle.
Him as their manager, the fucking mustache world order was fucking great, man. But getting past that,
over your lip. Go ahead.
But getting past them, this fucking strap match is fucking
These
awesome.
two guys beat the fuck out of each other in this match.
Fuck out of each other. They bled like a motherfucker. This fucking match was great.
Oh, there was I have nothing bad, but like I gave this match
this is the best goddamn thing on the show.
The match, like Aaron said, the match is badass. Wahoo gets all the corners because it's a strap match. Obviously, it's an Indian strap match. He gets all the corners. Both guys are covered in blood. And then Fernandez attacks Wahoo after the match. Fujinami makes the save. And then Wahoo cuts one of my favorite promos of the show. Because he is the greatest. Okay, this promo in and of itself capsulated in this at best marginal show. Okay, this whole promo segment with Wahoo thing on the show, because here's where it is. It's super realistic because he's leaving. Like he's like walking up the ramp. Like he doesn't want to do an interview. He's covered in fucking blood. He's just had a mat. Like it's so realistic because then all these like guys that are like little fucking stooges or whatever, like, hey, you got to come back for an interview. They want to do an interview. And then he comes back and does the interview. And then he essentially says, my fofo make sure all your kids don't grow. Like, Wahoo's going to kill this motherfucker. Like, I will not be happy that I pinned him. I will not be happy that I touched all. I am going to kill him. I will not be happy till this dude is dead. Literally, he says, till he is dead.
I'm glad y'all got sticker cell and shit.
Wahoo going to hit him up. But anyway, yes, fantastic. Nothing negative to say about this.
Everything about the Indians trap match and Manny Fernandez is fucking perfect.
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah, I wrote on my notes, Wahoo gonna kill you. Wahoo gonna kill you. But anyway, and now we get Larry Nelson interviewing two old guys. It's like those guys from the Muppets or whatever. Like we got Vern Gagne and Stanley Blackburn. And they're rambling on about blood and
fuck them.
I told him if there's too much blood, you gotta stop the match. If there's too much blood, and Stanley Blackburn's, I told him back in 1963, I told him you gotta stop the match if there's not enough blood.
Yeah. You know where there was too much blood at Ford's Theater.
So anyway, we are moving on to Jerry the King Lawler and Kerry Von Erich, which is our championship match. This match is to unify the AWA Championship and the World Class Championship.
You know this Jerry Lawler story? Jerry Lawler is one of my favorite people.
Oh, shit. We got a run-in.
Jerry Lawler?
This is like
trot in.
This is like one of our what do I call them? The freeform shows. People just show up and shit. Kyle Army is here. I mean,
I love it.
4 hours late and $6 short, but he's here nonetheless.
And fucking 50 pounds overweight. So
he just finished watching the season.
Oh.
He just finished watching the season finale of Scrubs.
I think all those people are dead.
I was just saying,
and that's why he called it the season finality at first.
I was just saying, this fucking guy was like, "Hey, I've never watched The Office before."
I hadn't. I'm not gonna lie about it. Be like, "Hey guys, I watched something and I didn't." You know what? Hey, you know what?
I respect that. Ironically, I respect that.
Here's the thing. I haven't, so it's new to me, so I get to enjoy it. You can only enjoy something one time. For the first.
Well, you've never had pussy before, then. Sorry, I'll hit that out.
I mean, I guess technically you would say yes because I have two ex-wives. But I'm because I have two ex-wives.
All right, now hold on, Kyle.
Uh-huh.
Since you butted in here.
I'll let shit out. Sorry.
I will not.
I like the fact that Aaron said I trotted in.
Yeah, he's trying to say you did a run-in. You stumbled.
All right, stop. Aaron. Okay, Kyle.
Yes.
You did not watch the show we watched.
Unfortunately, not. I did not think that I was going to be a Bill.
No, don't say unfortunately, because
it was a good goddamn show, man.
A lot of it wasn't great. I think Aaron liked it. Aaron liked it more than I did. But we have gotten to now. Kyle, have you ever seen the Jerry Lawler Kerry Von Erich match from this show where Kerry Von Erich bleeds fucking excessively?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so we're going to get into that, but Aaron wanted to tell a Jerry Lawler story about this show. That's where we were at. We're at Lawler and Von Erich for the Unified Championship, the AWA versus the World Class Championship. And Aaron asked me if I had heard a certain Lawler story about this, and I had not. So go ahead, Aaron.
Sorry, real quick, before Aaron, you get to your story and stuff. This is back like a unified title actually meant something.
Not in this show.
Well,
that's what it does, man.
It means more than fucking the Raw and SmackDown title fighting every 6 years, and then
I will not debate that. I refuse to debate that. You're right. But Aaron, go ahead with your Lawler story there.
Anyway, what I was saying was, Lawler's book, he was talking about how he was going to fight Kerry Von Erich. And, Kerry Von Erich, I'm not going to say any stories out of school, that he was aloof, Who's that person? Oh, Nate's back. Sorry, everything's going weird. Nate's here. Okay. Let's take it back.
It's good.
Okay. Anyway, Lawler and Von Erich were having this match. They were going to go out there and have this match, okay?
Yeah.
And Lawler said he was sitting in a locker room, and Kerry Von Erich is this aloof motherfucker. Stupid.
Obviously.
And he said that he walked by Kerry, and Kerry was sitting on like a bench, and he had his gig on his hand because he was going to bleed in the match like he did, you know?
Right.
Like the match being stopped by blood wasn't an accident. That was going to happen, and Kerry was going to gig himself.
However,
Kerry was sitting on a bench and was sitting there, and Kerry's this jacked up motherfucker, right? And Kerry's sitting there, he's talking to his friends. Hey, man, how are you? Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you?
Leaning Tower of Pizza.
Leaning Tower of Pizza. And he gets an itch, and guess what he does?
No.
He itches his arm. That's his goddamn bicep. Kerry Von Erich, before they go out on this fucking pay-per-view, gigs his own fucking bicep.
He gigged himself before
And
the
that's
match.
why before the match. And that's why when you watch the match, Kerry comes out there and he's got his fucking robe on and shit. And then he takes it off. And if you watch, he's looking at his arm. And then when they get like probably 3 minutes into it, Jerry takes him and slams his arm onto the fucking metal part that connects the turnbuckle to the post, hits it on it, and fucking Lee Marshall's like, "Oh, he's bleeding from it," and they're selling that shit because he's gonna have to bleed from that. He's gonna have to bleed from his head, and all that shit. Because Kerry Von Erich was just like, "Hey, man," and went and just itched his arm and fucking opened his fucking goddamn bicep open. You never heard that story, Nate?
I mean, now that you told me, I remember reading it in the book. I haven't read that book in fucking 10 years. But now that you told the story, I remember it.
And if you watch that match, fucking Kerry comes out, and right at the beginning of it, he's just like, "I'm looking at my arm." Because he knew he fucking gigged his goddamn arm.
And what a pro Lawler. You know,
Yeah.
I talk about on the show all the time, and I talked about in the Greatest Workers that we did with Chad Austin, and I've talked about a million times. You know, we talk about Terry Funk, yes, but Lawler, I don't think Lawler gets the credit he deserves for being, and I'm going to get to something here in just a minute. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves for being possibly top 5 best ever.
Yeah.
You know, I want to go back to something that they brought up on the Bruce Pritchard podcast.
Hold on, Kyle. Before this,
yeah,
before you go on your point, because we love to bust balls on this show, of course.
Yeah.
We're going to now determine this as the Kyle Come Lately segment.
Fair enough.
Go ahead, brother.
When they're talking about, it was Jake the Snake, the podcast, and John asked Bruce, he's like, "Hey, when Jake cuts that promo on Ted DiBiase,
The Pit of Avarice promo?
yeah,
Mhm.
where he's, talking about, the grovel, money you're going to grovel for is your very own." He's
Right.
like, "Know that was a home run," and Bruce says something that really kind of stuck out to me, where he's like, "No, because that was expected."
Mhm.
And I think the same can be said for, a lot of these older guys, stuff like Jerry Lawler and stuff. It's like, they just knew, okay, Kerry fucked his arm up, so I have to fucking just go out there and do this to fucking cover for it. Nowadays, it would be like, oh, fuck, that wasn't supposed to happen in our planned match. What are we going to do?
Right.
And it loses a lot of the spontaneity of it.
Mhm.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I said, there's a lot of great talent out there, and there's still guys to this day that can work and cover for stuff and everything else. But for the most part, I think that's a lot of the problem with pro wrestling now. It's all fucking planned out ahead of time instead of going out there and just kind of winging it.
Mm-hmm. And
being Nate, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
After, it kind of goes off the Slaughter thing, and part time. You're not gonna know what I'm talking about because you came in late. But
yeah. I know. Yeah, in most times it would be like, "Oh, we're so glad to see that you're here." Yeah, man, you look well. You look happy. You look good. Instead, it's you fucking part-time son of a.
Yeah, well, this ain't one of those times. But
I just like you to know, Kyle. Just so you know how great you are. We compared you to Tully Blanchard earlier.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad.
It's a good thing.
In what way?
Because you like cocaine and nobody's seen you in like 5 years.
But when you show up, buddy,
it
is some of the best shit ever.
Oh yeah.
Just kidding.
But anyway, before I was rudely interrupted, I had this.
Interrupt you.
Shut up.
Point. You're gonna be like, you rudely interrupted me.
Nate, I feel like I'm becoming oldie.
Yeah, maybe.
Remind me of. You ever seen the last call with Raven and Sandman?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a point when the guy is trying to pour Sandman a drink, and Sandman's like, no, stop. Don't you dare put my cigarette out. And that's different. We're trying to pour him a shot. It's like, don't you dare put my cigarette out. It's like, no, we're not trying. We're trying to give you another shot.
I'm trying to tell you to just be quiet for a minute.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
This is the fun stuff for me, folks.
Go ahead, Eric.
Are you done?
Probably not, but go ahead.
Zip it. I thought about this, Nate. Say Kerry Von Erich doesn't lose his foot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Doesn't lose his foot.
And we're being serious. This isn't leading to a...
Oh, yeah. No,
Okay.
I'm not leading to a joke. I'm saying Kerry Von Erich does not lose his foot.
Okay.
Doesn't have that shitty accident. Shut up, Kyle. Not making a joke.
I'm not making
Kerry Von Erich does not lose his foot. Do we still get Jim Hellwig?
Yes.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yep.
Or do we get modern day Warrior in WWF?
No, we don't. And here's why. Because regardless of whether Kerry has his accident or not, at the end of the day, until to the very, very dying end, that Von Erich boy would have been in his dad's promotion and would have been trying to keep World Class alive. Secondly, I still think whether Kerry loses his foot or not, we lose Kerry because of the obvious psychological problems. And I didn't mean to giggle.
I don't think Kerry has the problems until he loses his foot.
I think he does. I think it's there. I think it's inherently there.
I think it is too, because of the simple fact that let's stop calling it an accident. An accident would be, him accidentally, someone pulling out in front of him, or
he was fucked up.
The motherfucker's fucked up. He's riding a motorcycle. Now, I ride motorcycles. the motherfucker's riding a motorcycle and fucking barefoot. What did you think was going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Right there shows you that, he's not all fucking there, because anybody who's anybody knows if they're fucking smart not to ride with fucking shorts on, not to ride with fucking no shoes on or fucking flip-flops, not to fucking ride, with protective gear on. Because it's a fucking motorcycle and anything can fucking happen.
Yeah, I don't, and I think that and to that, Aaron brought Hellwig up. I also think you have to take into account, I think Vince still would have gravitated to Warrior. And I don't know. I think things wind up very much the same there, just because, like I said, I think Kerry, like Kyle was bringing to, he obviously already had issues.
Mm-hmm.
And just, yeah, I don't know.
And I know that if you were,
I'm not saying absolutely positively things aren't a little different, but I think we still wind up, from point A to point B. I still think we wind up at point B.
Okay. That's fine.
Who had painted his face and called him the Ultimate Warrior, it wouldn't have been the same thing. I don't think he had the energy, and because we've all discussed it, Warrior was one of those guys that, because he had that high energy, let's face it, his fucking match was his entrance. That's what it was.
And those amazing promos. The blood pumping through the veins.
It got to people, though.
Run you over with the lawnmower.
Run you over with the lawnmower. And no, Kyle, I'm by no way shitting on that. Anybody that watches, and again, Aaron and I have done this a couple times in the show, so it's not just Kyle's fault. We're getting off the rails. I did it about Jeff Jarrett earlier, and et cetera, but you can't deny, nobody can deny how fucking over Warrior was with the crowd for at least a 2 to 3 year period.
Well, you can't deny how over Kerry Von Erich was. That's why I was asking.
Right. No, and I understand that. But I also see...
Do you get why I was asking it?
Yeah. And you know what? you guys know, I am a fan of World Class. I've watched World Class. I love World Class Wrestling. And Memphis. Like, Memphis and Dallas are my quote-unquote territories. When people talk about what are their favorite territories, Memphis and Dallas are mine. In the bubble of World Class, Kerry Von Erich is fucking Hulk Hogan. He is over to no, but I don't think that he, and it's a fault of his and the company's, but he didn't translate to that national company.
Well, and I don't think Vince allowed him to, because I think
that's why I said it's his fault and the company's fault. He didn't show Vince enough. Vince McMahon, anybody that studies this business knows that Vince McMahon is all on board with you once you've sold yourself to Vince McMahon.
Well, and not just that, but think about any Southern wrestler that came up to Vince. Like, there's a difference between Steve Austin and Kerry Von Erich, because Steve Austin could translate himself over to being a national icon. Kerry Von Erich was very Southern, and I don't think Vince, as much as we know about Vince, like that, yeah, baby, I'm going to do it. I mean, look at Michael Hayes. Michael Hayes has been behind the scenes, but he really didn't have a lot to do in front of the scenes because Vince didn't like that Southern, style on TV. I think the same can be said for Kerry.
The main thing I took from Kerry Von Erich on this show was that not only could he bleed like a motherfucker, but he was obsessed with Mona Lisa.
And the Leaning Tower of Pizza.
Yeah. Like, in his first promo, he's like, hey, there's only one world, and there's only one Eiffel Tower, and there's only one Mona Lisa. And then he comes out, and they interview him, and Lee Marshall's like, "Hey, Gary, you're getting ready to fight Jerry Lawler. How do you feel?" He's like, "There's only one world. And there's only one leaning Tower of Pisa.
Pizza. He doesn't say pizza.
There's only one Tower of Pizza. There's only one Mona Lisa."
We like Little Caesars. Pizza.
It's like, dude, you only feel bad about people that lean like you do?
With your 1 foot. So I wrote down,
like he's got to find fucking Daniel Day-Lewis, and he's like, my left foot.
Jesus, that's deep. I wrote down here Von Erich Leaning Tower of Pizza, but then I also wrote down, and I want, this could be a discussion here, and Kyle wouldn't even have to see this pay-per-view to know what I'm saying here, just seeing anything from Memphis, anything from the WWF. Is there a guy in the history of wrestling, and you guys know, I mean, my favorite promo in wrestling is Dusty Rhodes, okay? I love a good Dusty Rhodes promo. It's got a lot of soliloquy, it's got verbiage, it's got his like Mike Tyson says, Dusty Rhodes is 70s black. I mean, it's got all of that. It's Dusty fucking Rhodes. It's my favorite promo guy in the history of the business. But is there a more real promo guy than Jerry Lawler? Jerry Lawler, everything he says sounds like a real dude talking about a real situation, even if it's ludicrous.
There's only one guy.
Who?
Brett.
I'll even say not Brett, because at his most Brett's
my favorite promo guy.
And I understand. Oh, God.
And Nate, you know that Ric Flair and Randy Savage are my two favorite wrestlers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not my favorite promo guys ever. Brett's my favorite promo guy ever. I put Brett very... It's very close, but I put Brett very close over Dusty Rhodes and Terry Funk.
Do you see what I'm saying about Lawler, though?
Yeah.
Like, when Jerry Lawler's talking,
like,
I never...
At the end of the show, he's like, I could have taken this guy's eye.
Right.
He's like, I could have taken his fucking eye, but I didn't. So you people should be super happy that I didn't do it.
And that's what I was trying to say. Like, and I'm not even remotely taking away the charisma of The Rock or Hulk Hogan. I would be a fucking idiot to do that.
Well, I think there's...
But when The Rock is cutting a promo, I know he's cutting a promo times 10 as The Rock. When Hogan's cutting a promo, he's cutting a promo times 10 as Hogan. When Savage is cutting a promo, he's cutting a promo times 1.
Yeah, like Randy Savage really is crazy. Savage.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's not Randy Savage sitting on his fucking...
Right. Jerry Lawler always sounds like Jerry Lawler, the guy, talking to me as the guy in the audience. And he's so effective.
And I agree with you.
I think Steve Austin could be...
But I can't put him up for Brett.
Because Steve Austin, you know...
Austin, too, yeah.
But what I was going to say is there's two types of promos. You know, there's the real promo and there's the over the top. I mean, you know, my God, Mike Tyson's going to be boxing again. And if you watch the fucking previews for that, he's like, I'm the greatest fighter since the conception of God. It's a fucking ridiculous line, but...
Have you seen the fucking photos of Mike Tyson, though?
Oh, I know.
At 50 fucking 6 years old.
I haven't...
Him posing for getting ready to fight. It's like, Jesus Christ.
He's gonna eat this guy alive.
Yeah. that's as
It's like, this fucking guy can't read, but he can kill me.
like Dusty Rhodes or Muhammad Ali. Like they knew how to talk people in the building, being over the top, being flamboyant. And then you had guys like, Jerry and Austin. They talk people in the building by being real.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they said something, if Jerry Lawler came out or Steve Austin came out and said, tonight I'm going to whip fucking so-and-so's ass, you're going to be like, oh, fuck, he's really going to do it.
Well, and that's what I was going to say about Jerry as a side note to my putting his promo ability over as much as I am here is I think another thing that helped him develop that is that more than, as Aaron said, Bret Hart, more than Hogan, even though they were in those settings, yes, in a smaller city studio setting, is there anybody that had a longer fucking run in that type of an environment? So Jerry,
well, I'll give you that.
Jerry Lawler honed his being. He honed his leveling to you and I as like it's like he's just talking to me because in that small setting for so long. And
I'll give you that.
Maybe better than anybody.
And I think also it comes down to the fact that, as much good
maybe Flair.
Good stuff is what Memphis had. Because Memphis had a lot of great stuff. There was also a lot of goofy, over-the-top shit. And a lot of times it took Jerry to be the fucking...
We're getting totally off the rails here, but dude, seriously, that shit is the kind of stuff that... it's kind of like ECW in a way, because, the 2300 pod, plug. But there is stuff that worked in ECW that if you took it outside of ECW, you'd be like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck am I watching? Like when any of these promotions, whether it be WWE, especially Impact, tried to dig back in and tried to capture that ECW, it never worked. And the same with Memphis. Like there was, like you said, there was the Christmas Creature, Dr. Frank, all the shit they did in Memphis. When you watch it on Memphis Wrestling, it works. If you watched it on the WWF, you'd be like, what the fuck is this? And somehow, some way, it worked.
I know.
Lawler was part of that.
Speaking of ECW, I was watching some New Jack shoots, which,
are the best shit on YouTube.
But like he said, he's like, when he's talking about Vince and all them trying to relive and bring back up ECW, he's like, you can't go to a fucking graveyard and fucking bring back someone from the dead. Just like you can't bring back ECW. You can't bring back,
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is at the time. And like I said, I think with Memphis, again, Jerry was the constant anchor that kept it based in reality.
Him and Lance Russell.
Yep.
Wow.
And let's not forget Bill Dundee, Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so back to this match, Lawler and Von Erich. And like Aaron said, about the gig, Von Erich fucking starts bleeding mercilessly right from the beginning. So now we've got to go, and Lawler instinctively goes with like Aaron said, the buckle shot, and the commentators got to go with it. Everybody's got to go with it because this is what it fucking is now, and they do a good job. Now, one thing that I wanted to point out.
Can I point something out?
Oh, I want to see if you're going to point out the same thing as me, so yes.
I'm going to point out this. If I knew that this fucking mongoloid cut his own bicep open and then glued it back together, and now he's going to bleed. If I knew this fucking mongoloid was going to bleed into my mouth, I would be like, no.
Nope.
You're not going to bleed into my fucking mouth. That was fucking gross.
Yeah, but I can also see them. I can see Jerry going like, "Oh, that's gonna be great, man. That's gonna be."
Well, and I was just about to say this. Jerry Lawler used the blood, and I was just putting this out. I was just going to put this out there. Jerry Lawler took the blood that Kerry Von Erich was dripping onto him and used it onto himself.
Yes.
Jerry Lawler in this fucking match showed to me why Jerry Lawler is
Jerry fucking Lawler.
Jerry fucking Lawler. He's the third best worker of all time in this fucking match.
And using the blood, you said, and putting stuff like that's like old school fucking like the warrior way. It's like I'm gonna take the blood of my enemies and bathe in it.
Yeah.
And it fucking translates well. Again, it's that one thing where, the people even up in the nosebleeds can see that. It's playing to the, the nosebleed section.
Yeah.
And
that was my point, Nate. I know it wasn't the point you wanted to make, but that's just what I was going to say. Was I know you and Kyle were talking about like a bunch of shit that I didn't listen to, but
thanks,
fucking
fuckhead.
You're welcome back. But Jerry Lawler's the third best worker of the '80s.
What I wanted to bring up, and I think it's funny to me. It was funny to me. All right, so Von Erich has his gash in his bicep and blah, blah, blah. And, of course, we've covered here at extent. Shit was bloody. Ray Stevens goes, if you're bleeding like this and you're still fighting, by God, you're a horse. And all I kept thinking was, well, he looks like a horse. Leaning tower of pizza. Gosh, dang!
Enos was like, "Do you give up?" And he was like, "No." Sorry.
Super stupid bloody match. Almost gruesome. So my other note, my two other notes is, first of all, Lawler tries to come off the top with the Lawler fist, and Von Erich gets the claw to the midsection, to the belly of Jerry Lawler. However, the first shot appears that he has the claw to his balls. I was like, oh, did he just claw Lawler to the balls? And Lance Russell's like, Lawler. But anyway, we got the claw move. No, go ahead, Aaron.
Do you know what's cool about the Lawler doing the fist drop? I think I've talked about this before. Sean Waltman talked about it. That he said Jerry Lawler is the toughest son of a bitch that he's ever met in wrestling.
Okay.
And do you know why?
No.
Because he never wore knee
Because for 30 years, Sean Waltman told Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, or Sean Waltman told Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Shawn Michaels that Jerry Lawler was the baddest sumbitch on the face of the planet because he would hit that fist drop and never had any knee pads for like 30 fucking years. So for like 30 fucking years, Lawler was hitting that goddamn fist drop on everybody. Austin Idol, Rip Rogers, fucking Mongolian Stomper, all these people. hit it and never stopped. No knee pad.
Not to mention on a rock hard Memphis mat.
Yeah.
The only other note I have on this match is that I thought with the blood, they drug it out too long.
That was the one thing I was going to bring up too with this, because like I said, I've seen the match and everything.
And
granted, it's out of context and everything, but I don't know. I got the feeling, just watching like the match itself or whatever, the not that there wasn't a need for blood, but it wasn't like a blood feud.
well, and like Aaron said, there was supposed to be blood in the match. You know, Kerry was supposed to gig his head, but the excessive
When you got your bicep open, you're gonna fucking bleed like a pig.
I understand that. I understand that, and I'm not taking anything away from it. The match wasn't terrible.
Oh no, the whole show was really good.
They should have called. I personally think, and I'm not a wrestler. That's We Can't Wrestle podcast, and Chad Austin would bitch slap me right now and say, well, "What are you doing, jabroni?" He hates when I use the word jobber. But anyway, I think that an audible should have been called in this, because the blood is effective, but it's also excessive. And I just think that this, after what happened, they just went ahead and went with what they had planned, and it was really, really long. And the match may not have even seemed that long had it not been for the excessive blood. I don't know. You guys might disagree, and that's fine. But I just think that an audible should have been called to end this earlier, because once Kerry really, really started bleeding, I was like, God damn, would they just end this thing?
Nate, excuse me, Nate. Do you know what I think the audible was?
What's that?
I really think they called it audible. Do you know what it was?
The buckle shot?
What?
The buckle shot?
No, I think the entire show called it audible. I don't think that the stud stable rock and roll match was going to be last.
You think they knew about Kerry's bicep and
yeah,
yeah?
And
why did they still let the match go so goddamn long?
I have no idea. But how could you explain to me that the fucking stud stable rock and roll went on after Kerry Von Erich and Jerry Lawler?
Was the intention of this match for Lawler to be the heel?
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Maybe I guess that doesn't even hold true, because the finish of rock and roll and stud stable is a fuck finish.
And I get that, but what I'm telling you is I don't think that I know Lawler was supposed to win at the end of it. Okay. But I really do think that was the audible. I think they went with at fucking 10 o'clock fucking Kerry.
10 o'clock Stanley Blackburn was like, I need to go to bed.
I think he was like, oh fuck, this stupid horse-faced fucker just gigged his arm. I guess we're gonna have to put this good match out there at the end of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I think going back to what you said, Nate, about like the excess and blood and everything else, I think if we could put it this way, like imagine Austin versus Brett at Mania 13, and everything plays out the same, except after the finish, when Austin, is in the sharpshooter, he goes another 15 fucking minutes.
Right. Overkill.
Exactly. I think that's the key here is that it's overkill. At some point, it's like you've seen everything you can see.
Anyway, Cal, you came in late, so your point doesn't matter.
I know, but still, the fact is that it's the truth.
It's the truth?
It's the truth, man. It's the truth.
So, like I said, I think the match with the blood was carried on too long. And I know they were pros. They were doing what they were supposed to do, but it just, to me, after 10 minutes, it all got very grueling, like uncomfortable to watch almost.
Man, when Kerry had the claw on Lawler and the blood was dripping down off of Kerry onto Lawler, it was fucking great.
And no denying. Match becomes the undisputed champion of whatever this mess is that they've got going on with these promotions.
Lawler became the world class championship wrestling and AWA champion.
Mm-hmm. And Vern didn't pay him. So Jerry eventually said, "Fuck you."
Vern didn't pay anybody.
He didn't pay. From what I understand, he didn't pay anybody that didn't work for the AWA. Which, I mean, that is what it is, and it sucks. But like Aaron and I talked about at the beginning of the show, it really sucks that you didn't pay your champion. And that's why Lawler went on his TV and started shitting on the promotion he was the champion of.
This show, for how great it was the downfall of the AWA. Because
if it wasn't a final nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
But I think that when it comes down to it, we can talk shit all we want about WWE and the product's shitty, but like Vince has the design and the layout perfect because, like with WCW, Eric Bischoff said time and time again the reason why people got those multi-million-dollar guaranteed contracts because they didn't have, licensing and merchandise. Like Vince is fucking smart where he's like, look. Like, we will give you fucking so much money out of everything that you sell. It gives the talent the option to go out there and fucking get themselves over. Or at least it did back in the day. And like I said, Vince paid him well. And then when you have this, where you have these guys who, the NWA, AWA, who are, I don't want to say fucking their talent over, but, is very scummy and very, sleazy at times.
No, Vern Gagne fucked people over on this show, apparently.
I mean, it's like, at least nothing else, you're going to get paid.
Right. So we round out this show, and I told Aaron when we started, breaking kayfabe on this part of the show here. While I was watching the show, Aaron showed up at my house, and we were shooting shit. Wow. And this last match was on in the background. So I didn't actually. It's the Rock and Roll Express against the Stud Stable, which sounds like a fantastic match.
Oh, it's great.
But I personally was kind of just watching it in the side view. From what I saw, looked good. Aaron, I guess I'll let you give the full review on the match since you're the only one of the three of us that actually watched it.
Well, give me a minute.
Very well. In that case, as you get to your notes, I will discuss the merits of both teams. Rock and Roll Express, obviously one of the best tag teams of all time. One of my favorite tag teams of all time. And Stud Stable, like Aaron and I were discussing when he was here, those guys don't get enough credit for how good they were.
Well, I think the problem is that Stud Stable came along at a time where tag team wrestling was fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to stand out.
You got Rob Parker. You got Jimmy Golden, also known as a Bunkhouse a Buck. But what an amazing tag team. What an amazing act. Like Aaron and I were discussing at one point, it's crazy that no major promotion ever gave these guys the opportunity to do what they do as they do it in a national promotion. Because damn.
I mean, I guess that begs the question, is that through their fault or is it through the fault of, you know what I'm saying? Like, did they decide that, hey, I'm fine with sticking, here in my comfort zone and not stepping out?
I mean, it was probably the fucking money, but
I mean, well, yeah, because at this time, it's like if you were on top, we're fucking made that you got good money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say this. Ron Fuller. Sorry, not Ron Fuller. Which Ron Fuller's awesome. But Robert Fuller and Jimmy Golden are, in my opinion, one of the greatest tag teams of all time. And any company that took those two guys and made them anything that they weren't did themselves as a company a disservice.
I agree.
And I'm a huge Stud Stable fan. I love Stud Stable. I love Bunkhouse Buck, and I love Colonel Robert Parker. But if you watch Smoky Mountain Wrestling or anything involving the Tennessee Stud and Jimmy Golden as a tag team, if you don't let those fucking guys just be themselves, you're a fucking idiot. They're perfect together.
Now I will defend the fact that the fact that the Colonel Robert Parker gimmick was fantastic.
Oh no, that's what I just said. That was good shit. But just let Robert Fuller be Robert Fuller.
You know what? And I'm going to say, and I know we're getting off topic here, but we all know how abysmal fucking uncensored.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's one shining light, Medusa versus Rob Parker, that is how you do a mixed tag or a mixed.
Yeah.
I mean, this shit is fucking great.
Oh god, that my fried pie shit. That's fucking fantastic.
I mean, it's just like I said. That here's what it needs to be. It's so good.
So we wrap up SuperClash III here on the We Can't Wrestle podcast, and I gotta say that the critics pan this pay-per-view.
I don't pan it. Do you have my star rating?
Yes, and I will give my Jeff Farmer Yeps rating out of 5.
I will give this show, honest to God, I give this show 3 out of 5. And the reason I say this is that it's under the AWA umbrella, but it's a Texas-Memphis show.
Mm-hmm.
Masquerading as an AWA show. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I actually also, you said 3?
3 yeps.
Yep.
Yep,
I gave it 3 yeps also. So that was the over-under for that one. Aaron and I both give it a 3. Kyle gives it an absentee ballot.
Yeah.
Gonna be disputed for some time too.
But let me tell you, brother, we appreciate you coming in for the last half of the show.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here.
He left his kid in the fucking truck.
He's like Kevin Nash. I'm glad to be here for the last half of the show. That's where the money's at, baby. But yeah. Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
I was just gonna say.
Hold on, there's money involved in this?
No.
I want to say I want to throw out a special shout out to the Talk of Champions.
I don't want to.
They did Survivor Series '98, the game, and I'll tell you what, it was a fun go through it. Like, those guys are very very funny, very fan driven.
They're very much like us.
Yes.
And they are fans, they are fan driven, and they have an educated, real, honest look. You know, they're not just. There's a lot of shows. There's a lot, and there's a reason that I partner us with the people that I partner us with. And that is because I'm not just going to partner us up with the Slam Fancy Ma'am Wrestling podcast or whatever, some couple of fucking idiots that just get on. And I hate when. All right, we're getting off topic. Thanks a lot, Kyle.
Fuck it. Who cares?
I hate, and Aaron, I'm sure you do too, because you're a connoisseur like I am.
I hate everything.
All right, Piper. I hate everybody. No,
fuck everybody.
And I just did it. But I hate when I listen. I hate when I listen to a podcast or I watch a Facebook Live thing or whatever with wrestling people, and it's like three goofy looking fucks. We're three goofy looking fucks, but anyway, it's three goofy looking fucks going, yeah, so WrestleMania 4, huh? Like, they don't, you know what I mean? Like, you guys have to have heard or seen this shit.
Oh, well, there is a difference between people who try to be funny and people who are funny.
Yes.
And trust me when I say Talk Champions, man, they are hilarious. They're great. They're very down to earth.
And again, like I said, they take a serious. You can tell when you're looking at someone or listening to someone who is a real fan.
I don't even watch this show.
And we are glad to be partners with them.
Yep.
Right, Aaron?
Okay.
That being said,
Talk of Champions is fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
They're very interactive. As the recording talk,
you assholes are fantastic.
Aaron, I think you may need to switch to water, my friend.
You came in a lot late into the show. Don't tell me how to live.
You should just be glad I showed.
I don't care how you feel.
I know you. It's all right.
How did I become Tully Blanchard?
Yeah, shit switched. That being said, I'm going to give the latest arrival the first goodbye.
All right.
Kyle, give your tootsie goodbye. Even though copyright says we can't.
Goodbye, tootsie, don't cry.
All right.
All right. Well,
even though it's still in our hearts, guys. Still in our hearts.
I'll never fail.
But again, I'm going to end it as I always end it, guys. I know that everybody is seeing the fucking numbers and shit spike. don't be a douchebag. If you go to a store, you go out in public, wear your fucking mask. Don't fight with people about it. Fucking think of other people besides yourself. Again, this isn't going away. If you look at other countries that actually follow the mandates, their numbers are going down while ours are going up. There's a fucking reason for that.
Like I say over and over and over and over again, for our entire lifetimes, you dipshits have said, okay, no shirt, no shoes, no service. Put your shirt on. Put your fucking shoes on. Nobody wants to see your stank-ass feet. And put your mask on. Because even if it's not about COVID, maybe now none of us have to smell your stank-ass breath.
And here's the big thing. I am so sick and tired of people saying that it's this conspiracy to take away your freedoms. What fucking freedoms are they taking away from you?
None.
God damn, guys. Like, seriously.
None. You never had any freedom to begin with. Okay. I'm sorry. Kyle, thanks a lot. You are, tell you fucking hilljacks, okay? You are subservient to the government to maintain your roads. You are subservient to the government to make sure that the water runs in your house. You are subservient to the government to make sure all these things happen for you. You spoiled, rotten Americans. Just put the fucking mask on.
Why don't you go?
I'm sure that there are third world countries in Africa where the children would really have appreciated it if everybody would have worn a fucking mask 50 years ago so they didn't suffer from some terrible disease.
Or better yet, why don't you go over to like Korea and stuff where everything is, that's where your freedom is really taken away.
You have to eat dog.
You know, like I said, go over there where people are fucking, where there is no rats, there is no, varmints or anything like that because people have fucking ate them already.
Done ate your varmints.
But again, you don't know what fucking being, suppressed and held back.
Oh yeah. I hate it when people in this country are like, "Who's taking on my freedoms?" Oh, shut the fuck up. The fact that you can even post that they're taking away your freedoms prove that you have more freedom than most people in the world. So shut up with your face. You know what? Aaron's making his face like he's going to sign off soon. Like, I don't want to hear this. But no, hear me out. Aaron, stick around. Because I want to point out something before we sign off. Okay. I'm probably not going to get a COVID vaccine. But here's why.
Isn't that they got to shoot up your butt, don't they?
No.
Or your nose?
The foil hat people will tell you they're not going to get the vaccine because they're going to put a chip in you. And I'm going to get back to that, so just give me a minute. Let me circle back, okay?
Is it a Dorito?
Cool Ranch.
I'm thinking Cool Ranch Dorito. All day.
No, what I was going to say is they will say that it's because they're not going to get the I don't get vaccine. I'm not going to get the vaccine because I don't get vaccines. I've never got a flu vaccine. I've never got an anything vaccine. And I don't take medicine other than ibuprofen because I think that's why I have such a good immune system. That and the beer. But beside the point, that's why I'm not going to get the vaccine because I don't do vaccines. But to the fucking idiots that say, there's a chip in the vaccine, it's going to track me and blurgy. as they post about the chip on a mobile device that has been tracking them since they activated it. You fucking idiots. You're not off the grid. You're not a rebel. You're not... It's not a revolution. You're being tracked. If the government wants to find you, they're going to find you.
Well, here's the thing, guys. Guess what? If the chip is small enough to be put into a vaccine, then it's small enough to be in your fucking hamburgers at McDonald's.
Would you like a quarter pounder with tracking?
Yeah. You're tracked. Sorry about your damn luck.
I don't even care. Like, I don't do anything. I go to work and then I come home and record these fucking podcasts. Like, if the government wants to know, I'll just tell them. Like, I drink beer and I talk and I go to work. That's what I do.
If everyone wants to spy on me, all you're going to see me is me in my fucking underwear eating pizza. Good on. If that's what you want? Okay.
And then Trump's like, I'm out.
Could you imagine how unsatisfied the government people would be following me around?
Because you go to work and talk about wrestling?
Yeah, and then I poop.
Yeah. Like, it's also stupid.
Like, seriously, Nate, you're the government now. Okay, Nate, you're the government. All right?
Good. Because I'm going to fix that fucking pothole about 2 blocks from my house.
You're the government now, Nate. Guess what? You got to watch what I do now. Yeah.
But
you're gonna have bigger problems than me because you've just seen what I do, and I don't care. And you're gonna see it, and you're gonna be like, Jesus Christ, this guy's fucked up.
Here's the thing, guys. The reason why we
He just ate a pizza off the floor.
He wiped off. He just fucking just shrugged at it and was like, "Well, it's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes."
This guy just ate a pizza off the floor, and we're just gonna have to live with it.
But in all seriousness, guys, the reason why we bring this up every week is because we love each and every. Well, me and Nate love each and every one of you. Aaron,
don't speak for me.
Really, you're gonna sit here and tell me that you love everybody?
Yes, I love everybody.
Like Roddy
Piper to our show.
Like Roddy Piper.
I'm gonna get some water because your fucking pants are on fire.
Only the government knows about that.
Well, all we're saying, guys,
I love everybody that listens to our show. Whether you listen to the We Can't Wrestle podcast or the 2300 pod, all of you, I love all of you. And if you don't,
especially loves you if you buy a T-shirt.
Shut the fuck up, Kyle. I'm trying to talk to the people.
They're
fantastic. I'll shut up. Go ahead. Speak your mind.
I'm just saying, buy his T-shirt.
Buy the shirt.
Ah, man, I was just about to be like, Aaron, do it.
Buy 2 of them.
And you didn't do it with the enthusiasm you usually do it with.
If you buy 2 shirts,
you
get the price of 2
shirt for
no, shut the fuck up, Nate. Shut the fuck up, Nate. I was trying to sell it, buddy. If you buy 2 shirts for the same price as 2 shirts, you get 2 shirts.
I mean, that's a deal, guys.
You get 2 shirts.
It can say Aaron's list was best. You can be part of Kyle's sleeveless army. Or the soon-to-come Archie shirt. Figure Hunter. It's coming. I actually had an idea for it. It's going to have Crikey on it.
I don't want Archie to come at all.
Oh, man.
That's gross.
I'm ending this.
Okay.
Talk about a sticky situation.
That's it for this week's edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. We want to thank you for joining us. And as always,
Buy the shirt.
well, actually, this week, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Whether you're just at home with your family, your proper family in the house, or you're celebrating with your kin, whatever you're doing for Thanksgiving this year, more than any other year, in all honesty, have a very happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you after the holiday with more of the We Can't Wrestle podcast, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time, folks.
Let's talk about the gobbledygooker next week.